GQ just conducted an interview with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez that is generating a lot of attention, and there's good reasons that it should, and also, as we'll show you in a bit, some really bad reasons that it should. But I want to focus on when she is asked about potentially running for president, which you are going to ask in a high-profile interview like this. She's a very high-profile politician, young, represents like the younger generations of the Democratic Party. But she kind of throws a little bit of cold water on it, and she gets, I think, very honest and very real, saying sometimes little girls will say, "Oh, I want you to be president," or things like that. She told me, Wesley Lowery, when I asked about whether she believed that she or someone like her could ever lead the country, quote, "It's very difficult for me to talk about because it provokes a lot of inner conflict in that I never want to tell a little girl what she can't do, and I don't want to tell young people what is not possible. I've never been in the business of doing that. But at the same time, I hold two contradictory things in my mind. One is just the relentless belief that anything is possible. But at the same time, my experience here has given me a front row seat to how deeply and unconsciously, as well as consciously, so many people in this country hate women. And they hate women of color. People ask me questions about the future, and realistically, I can't even tell you if I'm going to be alive in September. And that weighs very heavily on me. And it's not just the right wing. Misogyny transcends political ideology. Left, right, and center. This grip of patriarchy affects all of us, not just women, men, as I mentioned before, but also ideologically, there's an extraordinary lack of self-awareness in so many places. And so these are two very conflicting things. I admit to sometimes believing that I live in a country that would never let that happen. And I think that all of that makes sense. I understand the right is going to attack her, saying that she is making herself out to be a victim here. First of all, that's fresh coming from them. The grievance, white identity politics they peddle literally every day. But I think that, yeah, she is probably worried about whether she will live. I mean, she had to cower in her office, afraid that a mob wanted to kill her. And by the way, we're supposed to just, move on from that or whatever. I will remind you, if they had found her, they definitely would have, at the very least, severely assaulted her, if not far, far worse. If you don't believe that, then honestly check out of American politics because you have not been paying attention. And I don't think that she's right that the country would never vote for someone like her. I think that at some point is definitely going to happen. I think that she would have a good shot at it. But I like that she's willing to be real about how, even as popular as she is, that is going to potentially butt up against a lot of baked in misogyny and racism that is not just the province of the right wing, Francesca.
Mm-hmm. No, and I think the most poignant part about that interview is when she talks about the Democratic Party not supporting her as a freshman incoming congresswoman who was a progressive and who took out an incumbent centrist, and how little support there's been for her and how they didn't take her seriously until she was reelected. And so, and that, there's two times that I've really I wanted to hold her heart and mind at the same time. And that's when she gave an interview to the New York Times about just how much hate people for example, the next in line to be speaker, Hakeem Jeffries, has railed against her basically. And then this time when a tear comes to her eye and she says, honestly, I don't know if the country would ever support me, but specifically, I don't even know if the Democratic Party would support me. And of course, it's because she's a woman. And of course, it's because she's a woman of color. But it is also because she is a progressive. And so where the centrist Democrats can usually hold their own, usually, not always, is against the far right attacks on, a misogynistic level or on a racist level from the right. But where they never support women of color in the Democratic Party is when those women of color are challenging the status quo like AOC has. That's when they're on their own. And so there is something to be said about that phrase. I don't know if we deserve AOC. And my heart breaks a little bit when I come to that realization. And I have come to that realization with Bernie a couple times, right? Obviously, being thwarted at every point in turn. But man, are we a good enough country to deserve these amazing people?
Yeah. And look, I hope that we have far better leftists at some point. I hope that we have an abundance of riches when it comes to that. But she is going to be attacked, as we will get to, for saying that women get viciously attacked, that women of color get viciously attacked, that especially leftist women of color get viciously attacked. That is simply true. They're going to demonstrate it in how they attack her. They hate her specifically because she actually listens to and reflects younger voters.
Yeah.
She does not simply dismiss their concerns. And the right, they care about what younger voters believe, insofar as they will tell them you should focus, to the exclusion of everything else, everything economic, on despising trans people. That's what you should center your politics on. There's no organic anti-trans movement amongst young conservatives. They are trying to get them to hate things like CRT, the trans community, those sorts of things. AOC doesn't do that. AOC protested like her first day in DC because young voters do actually care about climate change. She has helped to change a country's view of what's possible when it comes to climate change. Would we have had the legislation that we did this year if not for not just AOC, but that entire movement? I think we might have had something, maybe, but probably not what we got. And that is why they hate her. They'll say it's because she makes herself a victim or she's too much of a celebrity or whatever. First of all, they voted for a reality TV guy. So spare me the anti-celebrity BS. But no, they don't like her because she actually reflects something that is big and growing.